Jamaica's Sharon James and England's Maureen Lee will umpire the second test, and New Zealand get us underway. Topping coming away from the circle, and Australia must get a better start than they did in Dunedin, Anne.
Exactly right, Stephen. I know that's the ask Joyce Brown will put to them. Been working hard in training. As Tarua Barnett puts the first goal on the board for New Zealand.
And Shelley O'Donnell, the first touch.
But the Australians looking for a tougher approach and for very direct, steady play in attack. And I know Joyce has put it to them that she wants the first quarter to really sparkle.
Well, it wasn't a sparkling first pass for Vicky Wilson. Will allow them some nerves in the early minutes, both teams. Edge, centre court. And the long ball for Topping. She's kept it in, but Harvey gathers for Australia. And Kath Harvey, her position under some pressure, but faith shown by Joyce Brown. Wants to give her another go after her high penalty count in the first quarter against New Zealand in the first test.
And I think that's important. She's a marvellous player, but she was very quiet for Australia in the first test and attracted a lot of whistle. In fact, she was probably the highest on court, attracting some 16 penalties, given she was only on for 3/4 of the game. Only higher player was Blair for New Zealand, their goal defence, who put in 18 penalties.
Tarua Barnett looks for Topping. Filkey there first. And McInnes. Harvey. McInnes under pressure from Edge and Tarua Barnett. Kenny.
And already New Zealand have a 2-on-1 on Wilson. Both Blair and Dillamore crowding the circle, sitting back, guarding her closely.
Penalty pass or shot?
Blair gives away a penalty. Wilson from handy range. It has a look and drops.
Vicky Wilson, of course, a saving grace for Australia when they're under pressure in the first test. She put up 33 from 37 shots. So although Dillamore feels that she had a fine game on her, she just couldn't restrict the accuracy.
Sue Kenny gives away contact in that toss-up. And there'll be another one now between Filkey and Dawson. Australia 2-1.
Well, we saw an incredible amount of whistle in that first test, and Australia was punished both ends of the court in the first quarter in that last test. Susie Kenny attracting 10 penalties throughout the game. If we compare that to Sandra Edge, her equivalent player for New Zealand, who only received 3, it really is a damaging statistic for the Australians.
Tarua Barnett. Edge, Nicol, Tarua Barnett, and Dawson.
I think she was described, Tarua Barnett, by the New Zealand press as a bit of a terrier, and I think that's probably an apt description. She's a very hard worker and quite deceptive on the moves, and she's just opened wonderfully for the Silver Ferns in this match. No misses on the board, and for me, from the old era, she reminds me of a Forsyth, of a Kamana.
Dawson looking for a feed. And Topping.
And you saw the little tap on the back from Tarua Barnett, signalling to Topping, right, you take it, but she can't drop it for New Zealand.
Oh, Harvey under pressure. There's good all-court pressure coming from New Zealand. Kenny, back to Filkey. The Australians forced to play it around, and they all converge on the ball, and the crowd applauds what is good defence from the Silver Ferns. McInnes now drives it down.
That's magnificent work from the Silver Ferns, and it doesn't show any of the zone that the Aussies like to talk about from New Zealand. It was just good, hard, one-on-one defence, tenacious.
Blair gives away the penalty, close to the post.
And it's a short pass called, and the Aussie shooters can't believe the call. But they're going to have to pull on some of the courage and some of the discipline they showed in the first test when they were confused by rulings, and play through it, as does Wilson. Great reply.
She gave Sharon James a little stare on the way back. She found herself very close to the umpire. And one against Dillamore. See, that short pass call, I thought they were just setting the penalty. It was just Wilson giving the ball to ball.
They were, and it's quite pedantic umpiring.
The ball wasn't even in play when they gave the penalty.
No, it really was something that often was called by umpires who were less worldly many years ago, and now is acknowledged that it's just a general part of passing the ball over.
Contact goalkeeper.
This one against Filkey. Australia trails 6-7.
Contact goal attack, Australia.
Kenny, Wilson. And Through the hands of Dawson to Nicol. Dawson gets it back now.
Australia's
Filkey
caught
out.
flat-footed and standing then round the attack. Not so Filkey, who was in full flight. But we see Wilson out doing such workload, working deep down to the transverse line, and obviously we'd rather have her in closer access to the circle.
Contact against Belinda Blair. Ball A's.
Oh, Dillamore fakes it well.
But only straight to O'Donnell.
Centre.
Wilson for the leveller. Rebounded strongly.
Pass or shot.
Knew she was short. Oh, and again, you wait a long time to see her miss two like that.
And I think that speaks volumes for the pressure that the Australian girls are under. I don't know that they're expecting the Silver Ferns to be able to stick goal for goal in their second outing, but I think the fight is on.
Tarua Bennett looks for edge.
Contact, goal, wing defence.
With the Australian penalty count blowing out to 16 for this first period, 3 of them against Simone McInnes, and I guess they haven't been line ball calls.
Harvey to McInnes. Harvey has to wait. Oh, Filkey under pressure. McInnes, O'Donnell. This is where a knowledgeable crowd applauds good defence, and it's a side of the game that doesn't often get recognised enough, I guess, Anne.
Exactly, and I think you'll always find with the New Zealand crowd, as we see, one of the rarities of a ricochet of Wilson back off the post and a New Zealand throw-in. New Zealand crowd will always acknowledge good skills from both their home team and the visitors, but the Silver Ferns giving them everything to applaud.
Low scoring first quarter. 7 apiece, 2.5 minutes left.
Well defended, Harvey and Filkey. Also misunderstanding. They had the Kiwi shooters bottled in close space. Again, we see the hesitation on the drive through the midcourt, and Australia having to hold up that release.
Contact, wing
to be
defence.
very careful and very hesitant through the middle.
Leslie Nicol, Kiwi wing defence, gives the penalty away. Kenny, Wilson, O'Donnell, and Borlays gets rid of Blair for this shot. It's not happening down there.
Contact, goal defence. Contact.
Well, Blair thinking that that penalty was her way, but of course Borlay shooting through it. Australia have the lead, and if we look at the penalty count too, it's starting to equalise. 17 penalties against Australia, 13 against New Zealand.
Outside, throwing New Zealand.
It went from 12-4 against Australia to 13-10. Kiwis gave away 6-1 at one stage.
And something we're not used to seeing is an overall shooting percentage for the Australians of 62%.
Wilson on 56 after an 89% effort in the first test and a 100% effort in the first and third quarters.
Hold in.
3-second call against New Zealand.
And although this may not be quite the first quarter Joyce Brown would be hoping for, it's certainly better than what happened in Dunedin, where they trailed 14-9 at quarter time. They have the lead here in a low-scoring, tight first quarter. Dawson, Topping. Borlays.
A clumsy challenge there from Borlays, and it attracts the whistle because it was late, the timing not there.
The long arm of Topping pulls that one in on the base.
Well, the timer just out of her chair and making her way across to Sharon James on the far side of the court. New Zealand perhaps unaware that it's close.
Contact centre.
Dawson.
Contact defence.
Against Harvey. Tarua Barnett puts New Zealand up just as quarter time approaches, around 20 seconds left. O'Donnell, Kenny, Wilson can shoot from there quite happily. Yes. Time enough if the Kiwis are quick enough for one more. McInnes tries to get a hand in there. Topping gets a quick one away. Filkey. And it was an important rebound. Harvey.
Contact wing defence.
Oh, nice try. And time blown. The Australians won't get the chance. But a much better first quarter from Australia, but the Kiwis will also be well satisfied with a scoreline at quarter time of 9. Shelley O'Donnell gets us underway in the second quarter, and I don't know about you, Anne, I'm still waiting for the Australians to hit their straps, and you've got to give the Silver Ferns some credit for that.
I think so. New Zealand looking very good and absolutely tenacious in defence. They're really blocking up the middle court with good one-on-one players. We see them again steal a turnover. The things we're not used to seeing, apart from Australia, not quite at its best, is their shooters starved of possession. Australia has had equal number of attempts to New Zealand, but they really fought that back in the latter part of the first quarter. You look at the accuracy, though, in Australia, well below their best, sitting on a 64% shooting average. New Zealand the same, but that's pretty well where they've been sitting in other games.
Tarua Barnett to Dawson, and the Kiwis have the lead, 10-9. Edge.
Also, Steve, interesting from the first quarter is the penalty count, which, although not as blown out as in the first test, still favours New Zealand, and that they only attracted 14. Australia, though, 21 penalties.
It's New Zealand by 2. Wilson and Dillamore riding her. She's her shadow in this match. O'Donnell, Kenny, Wilson had to be quick. Works a 1-2 with O'Donnell.
Well, this just isn't the norm for Vicky Wilson. In that first quarter, she put up 6 from 10, so she's sitting on 60%. As Maureen Lee tries to attract attention, New Zealand won't have it.
It's got to come all the way back down court. Maureen Lee is still waiting for the...
And she's setting Wilson and Borlase out of play. She's quite entitled to do.
Shelley O'Donnell takes it. Harvey, with 3 Australians there waiting for the high ball from Quilkey. Borlase now. Well, Dillamore certainly got a touch on that.
Well, you have to, if you're sitting at, 190 centimetres and very long arms, she'd be well over the shots, and she's really working hard over the arm and flicking on it, and that's the pressure that the Australian shooters are facing. Borlase with 3 from 4 in that first quarter, so she's on target, but didn't have many chances.
Local broadcasters, Television New Zealand, had Robin Dillamore, their player of the match in Dunedin. Even though Vicky Wilson shot 89% down there, I saw her playing well. She's certainly doing it again. Topping.
Contact ball defence.
Well, unfortunate for Harvey, she was on line to the ball. Topping wasn't.
Harvey hits the last say. Has to hold back the pass because Dawson was with O'Donnell. Wilson needs help. O'Donnell in the corner. Dawson drifts in offside into the circle.
Dawson's a really tough competitor. She's a strong physical player, and she's relishing this physical contest.
Dawson was captain of New Zealand's successful 1992 World Youth Cup side. Joyce Brown, Liz Ellis on the right, Nicole Cusack the left. Players hoping to get a run, perhaps. Australia took 3 minutes to get their first goal in this second quarter.
And that's struggling in the opening minutes to score. Drops their shooting percentages overall in the game down to the 50s. Wilson on 50, Borlase 57.
Long ball from Harvey to Kenny.
Oh, the touch well there from Nickel. Only needed the end of the fingertip because the backup was there from both Dawson and Edge. The Silver Ferns really want this one.
In centre, penalty flag.
Come back to Sandra Edge. Over the top for Topping. She could have left it for Tarua Barnett. They both read it, the feed well. Kenny, Wilson, and suddenly the Australians look more fluid. O'Donnell.
Contact centre, edge of the circle. So contact against the centre.
Shelley O'Donnell just lets it bounce for Wilson. And it's only by 1 now that New Zealand lead. Five minutes left, second quarter. Tarua Barnett, Edge. And it's been a good couple of minutes for Australia as they come back into this match. Edge, Tarua Barnett.
Defence, pass or shot. Offside, free pass.
And Edge just so dominant for New Zealand in the feed. She's put in 13 of the 19 deliveries to the circle.
Outside.
So doubling the access Dawson's had to her shooters, testimony to how important she is re-emerging in this New Zealand line.
She said she was quite happy to take up the unaccustomed wing attack role if it meant getting Dawson into the team, because she knew what a good player Dawson was. Edge. Oh, Topping takes a bullet from Tarua Barnett. Margaret Foster, Lee Gibbs, Cheryl Wells there on the New Zealand bench. Well pleased with that goal. Kenny. O'Donnell. And Borlase takes one in the breadbasket from O'Donnell. Another high shot.
Dillamore just too tall. And the timing good from her. They're playing on confidence, the Silver Ferns. They're really shutting down the circle for Australia too in that last play. We could see Dawson not defending the feed because it was a long way off the circle, but sitting around, working around the top of the circle, disguising, shutting down access to the shooters.
3.5 to go, second quarter. Dawson. It's New Zealand by 2.
Contact goal defence. Penalty
Well,
pass.
New Zealand lucky to come away with that. There was confusion between Dawson
Contact goal shooter.
and Tarua Barnett.
Topping gives away the penalty. Harvey leads out. Wilson. Kenny to O'Donnell.
Harvey still leading the personal top penalty count. She's attracted 13. The next to her would be Borlase with 8. Hard to believe. And then Blair and Dawson on 6 and 5 respectively for New Zealand.
Tarua Barnett. Topping spills it. Filkey gets a hand to it. And away come Australia. McInnes. Kenny. Great hands. And a good ball for Wilson. Great aerial skills from the Australians.
Wilson did well then to take that ball. She put the roll on backwards, so she really lost sight of the ball for a second, and Dillamore was ever present at the front.
$17 apiece. There's a break in the centre pass. It'll be retaken. Kenny. Wilson. O'Donnell. Just looking at a held ball there. Borlase.
Long stretch there from Dillamore really made Borlase think twice about it.
Topping. Dawson.
Contact goal defence. Goalkeeper. Penalty pass or
Filkey
shot.
got one in the mouth, but she was guilty of the contact. So Sharon James. 1:40 left in the quarter. Edge.
Oh, Filkey came out to have a go at Edge's feet, and she got caught on the edge of the circle, edge to edge. Timing not good.
McInnes stops. Borlase. Wilson.
And you can hear the call, Kiwi, Kiwi.
It's getting a little fierce out there. Nickel. Edge. She gets so high in the air. Tarua Barnett to Topping.
It's just over a minute on the clock. No one's moved from the Australian bench. No indication to us that there would be changes unless they use the 5-minute half-time to warm up those players.
O'Donnell. Wilson.
Australia has been denied playing at its best in the first test and to date in this second test. As they lose it again, an offside call.
Edge looks for Dawson. No, it's Blair.
Obstruction against Borlase.
Dawson has the pass partially blocked. Kenny, McInnes, Borlase, O'Donnell. Up goes the shout again as it comes down the Australian attack end.
Oh, nearly could thread it through to Wilson at the post. Borlase a safer option, but one drop.
Tarua Barnett.
Oh, an untimely contact gives them the chance with the timer up.
A goal in the dying seconds of the half. And a great quarter for the Kiwis after Australia in trouble as the third quarter begins, and they've got to lift possession and shooting percentages.
Yes, it's not something we're used to seeing, but New Zealand overall sitting on 65% shooting accuracy. Australia only 57. Both Wilson and Borlase each with 4 from 8, both on 50% for the second quarter, so that's really killing us. But overall, I just don't see the level of confidence that you normally see with an Australian line. They're finding it hard against the whistle, and they're finding the contest from the Silver Ferns very tough. They're yet to hit their best.
Both sides have made changes at the shooting ends. Karen Topping is off for New Zealand. On comes Teresa Tairi, the 20-year-older from Auckland. And Australia has replaced Jenny Borlase again at half-time with Nicole Cusack. But Harvey is still on.
Great intercept from Simone McInnes, balancing on the edge of the circle. I think Wilson's been doing a great workload out on the field, and we really need to be able to give her the luxury of sitting back a little more composed, working the circle, and perhaps in Cusack we can find that slight movement, that gracefulness at the top. Just different timing. Nice move from Cusack.
And Australia gets the first goal of the third quarter. And the trophy they're playing for, prominent, but not in the players' minds at the moment as Cusack puts up a long bomb.
The other thing, of course, Steve, you gain by Cusack entering the match is her combination with Susie Kenny. They've played together for many years as a New South Wales combination, so that might be something that just changes the timing for the Silver Ferns, gives them something to think about.
Little misunderstanding there between Edge and Dawson presents Australia with this chance.
Well, that was a punchy start from Catherine Harvey. They've decided that they're on the attack.
Edge, Tairi, and back.
Structure wing defense.
New Zealand now with 4 players on court who played in that victorious 92 World Youth Cup team.
Oh, lovely deception on the pass from Edge. Tarua Barnett, the most accurate on court, sitting on 69% so far.
Cusack gets away from Blair. Wilson. And already there's added quickness amongst the Australian shooters.
So Cusack really has speed to burn, and she's quite deceptive on the moves.
Tairi, first shot is a long one. And the bounce favoured her. Dawson.
Oh, Dawson doing well then to take that ball and hold position as the fight's on between Harvey and Tarua Barnett.
And Maureen Lee sets the toss-up. Tarua Barnett and Harvey.
Well, so often we've seen Australia pinged for moving too soon in the toss. And I thought it was just that they were fast.
Contact, goal attack.
And this one against Tarua Barnett, who's given away a few early in this third quarter. Harvey, Cusack. Wilson. O'Donnell and Cusack working well. That'll be retaken. It's very hard to hear the umpires for the players in this aircraft hangar of a stadium. It's really quite different, but very full. And the Australians have outscored New Zealand 4-1 at the start of this third quarter. And perhaps Joyce Brown has made the right change.
McInnes making a good decision there. Kenny was implying that she really was just making a move to clear a bit of space at the top of the circle. McInnes read it well and fired it into Wilson, and Aussies are looking much better. Not a smile yet from Joyce Brown, and she's a long way out from a win. But it's a good start to this quarter. Tairi. That was a hard knock. Tairi grabs the knee.
Well, this is a terrible blow for Teresa Tairi. She's barely been on court 5 minutes, and she's clearly damaged that right knee quite badly. And so Karen Topping comes back on to goal shoot.
Lee Gibbs has been very confident, saying that she intends to use all 10 of her players, and we thought that would happen in this match, but this is not the way she'd want to substitute.
And that contact was actually against Tairi, sort of the ultimate insult as she has to leave the court. Play on for Australia. Cusack, Kenny,
Reverse pivot from Cusack and a little step to draw space away from the long arms of Dillamore before she finds Wilson.
O'Donnell to Kenny and Cusack. And it is a quite different role from the Australian goalers now, with Cusack leading out from the circle, as you suggested, Anne, and another nice goal from Wilson. And suddenly it's Australia by 2.
Yeah, the benefit is, of course, that we're allowing Wilson closer access to the post, with Cusack assuming most of the leads. And she's ended this game beautifully, wasting no time to warm to it.
O'Donnell, Cusack now. Kenny backs into the corner. Nicol can't follow her. Cusack.
And that's an example of the speed of Cusack. She offloaded that ball from the sideline nearest camera to Kenny on the far side, and was the next one to cut and drive and receive.
The ball, penalty, contact.
Somehow the turnaround in the Australian confidence is reflected in the whistle.
And in Wilson's shooting.
8-1, Australia is leading this quarter. An amazing turnaround. Kenny.
Stepping goal shooter.
Wilson can't believe it.
She was in such shock she stood out of play.
Blair to Dawson. Topping to Edge. Harvey the contact on Tarua Barnett. And a big cheer for only their second goal of the quarter. Tarua Barnett, Edge. I was a little surprised when Topping was benched at half-time. I thought she was going okay. Wilson again. No.
Wilson was first in. She really flew from that shot to follow in.
And got clobbered by Dillamore. And now Blair.
She'll now have the pleasure of shooting with no one guarding her, both out of play, and it just won't fall sweetly for her. Wilson on 68%. I think the crowd are trying to tell us they think she should just lose it all together. Toss up.
That ball was tossed up almost into Belinda Blair's hands. Australia's possession in any event. Cusack. O'Donnell. Wilson this time.
Obstructing goalkeeper.
Australia by 3, 5:40 left in the third quarter. Taurua Barnett, Dawson, Topping was at the post.
Contact defense.
Catherine Harvey out to 16 penalties. By far and away has attracted more in that area than any other player on court. That last one brought her up to 17. She's having a far better game for Australia, though. She's absolutely sensational, and was quiet in the first test, starting to come back to the halves we know, but still getting a lot of whistle.
Cusack, O'Donnell. Australians had front position there. Cusack comes out top of the circle, spilt by Wilson. Penalty against Blair. The crowd doesn't like it, and the ball drops kindly for Wilson. Australia by 3.
Wilson gradually sneaking up her percentages. She's up to 70 now. 70%, 19 from 27.
Great feed for Topping. Out it comes, Harvey.
Obstruction goal attack.
Remember in that first test in the final quarter, Topping not nailing a couple that may well have turned the game. That was an important goal for her then. They may
Harvey
well
has
get
given
the
away
chance now.
Harvey's given away the penalty, leaving the goal circle. O'Donnell to Kenny. Against Nicol. Kenny looks for Cusack.
And Steve in back play, Lizzie Ellis and Marissa Doward both off the bench, stretching the legs. It may well be that O'Donnell needs to have fresh legs out there through the middle, and that Ellis may jump into the circle, and the Australians look to what they found in the fourth quarter of the first test.
Edge, Topping. McInnes, strong intercept over Edge. And McInnes has had a stronger game than in Dunedin.
Yeah, that's the case. She's really created a lot of opportunities for Australia tonight. Really making Sandy Edge work for the space.
Wilson.
Good shot.
All string. Australia by 4. Cusack. Powerful pass in for Wilson. Cusack, is she quick enough? Yes, Edge can't step into that. And it's 32-27. McInnes again got a hand to it. Not the clean intercept though this time. Dawson topping.
And on the ball.
And the ball just crawled in. Important few minutes now for Australia to consolidate what they've done. Wilson unguarded at the post. Dillamore steps in but can't stop. Another good shot from Wilson, who's lifted. Nickel.
Wilson sitting on 100% for this quarter, 12 from 12.
Topping, Dawson. Tarua Barnett, and there's a fair bit more pressure around the New Zealand circle in this quarter. Tarua Barnett being denied a little more often.
And Topping's stationary game, not being able to be found by the feeders. She was given close attention then by Harvey and Filkey.
Hands on ball.
Oh, strong work by Topping. Height counts for something. .140 left in the third quarter. It's Australia 33, New Zealand 29. And Blair read that pretty well. McInnes.
Contact call will go against Shelley O'Donnell.
Dawson. Topping. Oh, brilliant feed in for Tarua Barnett. She couldn't help but take that, and a smiling Lee Gibbs watches the Silver Ferns come back. I think of all the coaches I've ever watched, Lee Gibbs is one of the more expressive. She lets you know when something goes right. Most coaches try and stay impassive.
No, I think her enthusiasm is delightful, and of course they've come from a hard place. They've been under pressure, criticism of some of the selections in the team, and controversy over her appointment in itself. So she'll be relishing in the close contest between the two countries in this series.
Well, that was an unfortunate fumble by Kenny because Wilson was available, but still Kenny made it happen. And the lead is back to 4. O'Donnell to Cusack. Nickel the contact. Kenny now.
Contact ball shooter.
And Wilson is down. Dr. Grace Bryant quickly out to look at the right ankle of Vicky Wilson. A worried Joyce Brown will see Vicky Wilson continue with only a few seconds left in this quarter. Kenny, Wilson. Wilson lands gingerly and puts away a bonus goal. Tarua Barnett topping. Harvey looking to keep Tarua Barnett out.
Well, why wouldn't you worry with Wilson having put up 24 of Australia's 35 shots?
And that's the end of the quarter, a good one for Australia. They've taken the lead by 5. It's 35-30. 15 minutes to go for Australia to wrap up the series. They're up by 5. Cusack to Dalwood, and Wilson's intended pass intercepted, but a great third quarter for Australia, Anne.
Oh, certainly, and I think the introduction of Nicole Cusack really lifting the attack line at open space. It put a new level of speed out there, and certainly it suited Wilson. She put up 14 from 15, so she was able to be found, and she was feeling comfortable and on target.
Great intercept to start the quarter for Harvey. Cusack. Wilson gets away from Dillamore.
Contact, goal,
and
attack, New Zealand.
Dalwood on for O'Donnell, and O'Donnell played pretty well.
Yes, she did. She was strong and tough, and Joyce Brown would be putting out fresh legs in putting the Carissa Dalwood out now so that we can continue that strong running style through the middle. Interesting, Steve, I was eavesdropping on Lee Gibbs, the New Zealand coach. She was really stressing basics to her line in the break, encouraging them to pass and cut and keep the basics there.
Edge.
Contact goal defense.
One more penalty against Harvey, number 19 for her.
Contact goalkeeper.
Topping. Edge. Topping. Dawson. And down they all go. It's come off the post. The ball is still alive, except that the whistle's gone.
Right there.
Well, I don't understand that one. Neither does the crowd. The ball should still be in play. It's not a penalty, is it?
It's supposed to be an expert commentator, not a magician. I don't know where that one came from.
Dalwood to Harvey. Cusack.
She thought about giving it and then held it up, and of course it rolled off the fingertips, and guess who wanted it? Silver Ferns everywhere.
The finger roll pass, unfortunately. Dalwood hits the deck.
Dawson really making some ground then.
The surface called Mondo Rubber. Quite similar to what we saw in Dunedin.
And pretty heavy on the legs, I can tell you. Underneath that Mondo Rubber is concrete.
McInnes.
Contact call against Harvey, nudging her up to 20.
Topping.
Now Filkey. Doesn't matter, it drops anyway. New Zealand just won't die.
Difference back to 3.
A misunderstanding gives him the throw in as Susie Kenny shakes her head.
Well, the understanding should be there between Dalwood, Kenny and Cusack, the New South Wales players. Edge to Topping. Dawson. Up goes the Kiwi Chad. Tarua Barnett has been quiet for a couple of quarters.
Well, there was absolutely no space there for Dawson to move through. I'm not quite sure how she came away with that then. She was told by her coach to keep running through. She's doing that.
And Tarua Barnett gets the benefit of the penalty shot. And there's nothing in it now.
Australia have got to keep steady heads, work front position. Dalwood throws everything into that contest, tries to get the tip. She's out of play for effort, though.
And Harvey off the ball again. Gives her out a penalty shot. Topping makes a play. Cusack. Australians work it down quickly. Dalwood.
Use of elbow. Gives New Zealand another chance. Tough call for Joyce Brown. She must have been wondering whether she'd throw Lizzie Ellis on. We saw her warming up. But then, of course, Australia looking so good in the third and Harvey growing with confidence with each minute. You tend to stick with the lineup, save those fresh legs of Dalwood.
Wilson needs this.
Pressure shots, her specialty.
Dawson set a pass to Edge, and Dalwood pulls it in. Was there a hand from McInnes?
Oh, I didn't see a hand from McInnes, but not enough speed on the ball. Dalwood driving through onto it well.
And if Wilson's ankle is sore, she's riding the pain. (37-34) Australia. 10 to go. Wilson fed beautifully.
Well, they hung back and covered Kenny well, but Wilson saw the space, put the short drive on from the post.
Admirable composure out there from the Australians. This crowd would be enough to rattle you, as would the brilliant effort of the Kiwis, who again started as underdogs. Any turnovers will be crucial here. Dalwood gets a bullet.
Oh, that's just not on. Dawson really slammed in the back of Dalwood then. To her credit, she just got up and kept running, but those challenges are not within the rules of our sport.
Edge. Topping. And the width of stride helps her get great position.
Topping and Wilson battling it out for highest stats on court. Topping sitting on 74%, Wilson on 75% overall.
Tarua Barnett, edge.
Australia's team total, interesting, just nudging out the Kiwis now. 72 to 69 overall.
Dalwood, McInnes, Cusack, Kenny. Oh no, she's offside, Dawson, surely. The crowd wanted the intercept left.
Well, it's spectacular if you get away with it, but unfortunately it just doesn't fit within the rule book.
Centre may not put a foot in that circle. Wilson. Oh yes, it looked off, but it was good enough. Enough of the ball saw the hoop. Dalwood to Cusack, and it's a quick move to the circle, Australia. Oh!
Great work. Cusack really coming alive up the front of Wilson, and she's delivering the ball superbly to her. And Wilson rewarding the Aussies with some great shooting. Slow to start, but wonderful in the finish.
Thus far, the Australians answering each of the challenges from the Silver Ferns in this last quarter. But this one will go right to the wire. McInnes playing out of her skin. Dawson. Topping. Foster, Burridge and coach Lee Gibbs. And Foster and Burridge, the two players yet to have a run for New Zealand. I don't think they're about to get put on now. Well, they won't get a run unless there's an injury, obviously. Kenny. Comes back for whom? Kenny. Cusack. Gillimore's outstretched hand doesn't quite do the trick. Cusack is even closer.
Well, there's so much height on Cusack's release that gives the rebound a lot of height too. And tell you what, if it's going over the top of Gillimore's outstretched hand, that's height indeed.
41-37 Australia, 7 minutes to go.
Quick work from Sandra Edge. Topping's answered well. Far better finish from her than we saw in the fourth quarter of the first test.
Lee Gibbs can barely watch. Kenny. Cusack spells it, but she gets the penalty.
Maureen Lee doing a good job in the calls in a crucial part of the game.
Wilson. Difficult matches to umpire, and in terms of the noise, the umpires have a hard time making themselves heard, hearing each other.
And the importance of universal hand signals, as we've mentioned on countless occasions before, all important now as players really just can't hear clean calls. Harvey a touch late, Edge milks it a little, she'll get the penalty.
Tarua Barnett to Topping.
Well, Philby really felt she had little bearing on Topping's drop. Australians are standing up to it well, but there's no reason to feel comfortable.
Edge. Topping.
Outside, Australia.
Topping under pressure, and she falters then.
5 minutes to go. Australia by 3. McInnes. Kenny. Harvey. Oh, Wilson at stretch. Cusack.
Australia offside. Yep, just there.
A good call. Nicol was strong in the contest, but was offside on the approach to that ball.
Kenny. Quickest hands in the West or the East. 43-39. Topping. Tarua Barnett. Tarua Barnett's percentage has dropped away to 65%, and I think her performance may have caused Lee Gibbs a little concern. I just feel she's been quieter, Anne.
Yes, that's right. She was quite a 2 in the final quarter of that first test. She only had 2 attempts. That, of course, was with close attention from Filkey.
That goal denied. Footwork.
But whilst Tarua Barnett is quieter, Topping is finishing with a great deal of strength for New Zealand, and that, I think, was lacking. Some crucial shots missing from her, but not the case tonight. Footwork. Twice Australia denied the chance at goal. It's the wrong time for that to be happening.
Twice it's been Cusack. 3:50 to go. And it's Australia by 3. Edge.
Well, a few of us had doubts that New Zealand would be able to put out the same performance, that perhaps the lead had given it their best and wouldn't get closer. But I have to eat my words now. They're in the running. They are back on the board in international netball.
Oh, and Nicol gives a little shoulder to Sue Kenny, who ignores it.
Mind you, Steve, this contest isn't for the faint-hearted.
Tarua Barnett.
Crazy on the side. She's just loving it.
I don't know how she can enjoy it. It's really tense stuff, but it's great to see. Dalwood to Cusack.
Contact on Blair, nudging her up to 14 penalties. She's still 10 less than Harvey.
Wilson could sense the challenge from behind by Blair and put it away. Dawson, Tarua Barnett. Hold on to your hats. 2:20 to go, and 2 the difference.
Replay against Sandra Edge.
Harvey. Oh, McInnes under pressure.
And that's a rare fault from the New Zealand skipper, and almost, I was about to say, replicated by Susie Kenny.
Nicol, Edge. Tarua Barnett. They play on.
It's really hard to play under the call. I mean, the whistle went, everybody stopped. She then said, play it on. Players have just got to fight tooth and nail. Australian centre.
Downward to Cusack. They can't afford a turnover here, Australia. Kenny to Wilson. Every shot must count.
This is a crucial play for Australia, and Wilson sensing that, hugs the post well. Blair, inexperienced, gets caught out chasing the front ball.
You wouldn't know it was a close game watching Wilson's face. One of the most experienced players out there, along with Sandra Edge, I guess. Edge, the oldest player on the court and perhaps the quickest.
McInnes doing a good job at keeping Edge off the circle. Dawson having some more feeds in the final stages.
New Zealand bench looks at the clock and the score. It's Australia by 1, 1:10 to go.
And at the moment, the centre's giving Australia just that measure of breathing space.
Dalwood.
Blair had a thought to go for that.
Cusack. Wilson. And the contact against Dillamore. Will Wilson make her pay? Indeed. 45 seconds to go. New Zealand still trail. It had to be kicked. Oh, there's been an adjustment to the score, 47 all. No, the goal doesn't count. You tell me the score. They've got 47 all on the board.
I've got 46, 45. And I've got a third score to my right. Deja vu.
Well, we think it's 46-45 Australia. The scoreboard in the stadium has gone berserk, and it's got 0-all up there now.
And the Australian manager, Marilyn Maluish, running at the bench to check it. Wilson's going to try and separate it now.
Well, we don't know what the score is on the board. Full time is blown. We think Australia has won by 47-44.